You have a quite the view there. Looks like you're in Washington D.C. Are those Trump curtains I see right there?
Yeah, I guess they are a bit iconic, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. Well, straight incredible opulence when you go to a Trump hotel. Nothing but the best. Always a winning time. Incredible service. I love the Trump line of hotels. I've never actually stayed at the DC one, but I've been to several other throughout the country. So Juan, how's it going tonight, man? How you been? It's been a minute.
Good, good, good. In fact, next time I'm out here, come on out and I'll get you a room. We'll comp it for you.
Mm,
You know, the one thing I will tell you, you go to the various Trump hotels, and I was just commenting on this with somebody else. I go to hotels, they got 12 stories, and the elevator takes like you start, you just shaved, you get to the end of the elevator run, and your beard's already starting to come out. You go to a Trump hotel, I'm on the 61st or something floor out there in Nevada, and I get to the top, and the other elevators in the other hotels, you've like passed two,
absolutely.
three. Oh my gosh. It's little details like that that actually you don't think about it, but man, it adds up. And so if you're kind of getting spoiled, that's one of those fun things. They just try to do a cut beyond some of the other stuff. And he's a bit of a he wants to entertain, and he's concerned about the experience that his guests have. So he
Mm.
does a certain thing. You got to give him a lot of credit. There's a lot of other ones. They're just as expensive, the other stuff. He just does things a little cut ahead. And even you come back to where we're at with the nation, those people that might have thought that he hasn't thought through all the little details.
Hmm.
And oh my goodness, he's so surprised on some little thing that just happened. Oh my gosh, how did he not think of that? Yeah, probably he did.
He's already 10 moves ahead on everything. Let me just do a quick thank you for the audience. Sherm Vape, thank you very much for that, Ninja Genie. Also, thank you to JT1Patriot7. Love your show, brother. Where we go, one we go all. Thank you for that. And then Dan Vanos, the best is yet to come. Absolutely. I feel like there's kind of been, well, I mean, for months now, we've been on this emotional roller coaster. It seems like, one day we're high, one day we're low. After what happened in DC this week, there were a lot of people who were ready to just, fall off the edge of that cliff. But now, after the last couple of days, it seems like people have kind of risen back up again. They're seeing that we're not at the end of the road. President Trump has not conceded. Kamala Harris is still a sitting senator, and Joe Biden is still delivering addresses from his basement. And it doesn't look to me like anything has changed. We're still on track to make sure that we have another 4 years in office for our chosen candidate, President Donald Trump. So I'd like to get your thoughts and feelings on where we're at right now and what the next moves are.
Well, of course, a lot of this is both sides are trolling. In fact, I had communication earlier with somebody that was in a very sensitive location. And he said, I've never, in all the years, as much stuff as I have seen, I've never seen as much trolling and misinformation going out from both sides. Remember, we troll the bad guys too. Disinformation as a tactic.
Absolutely.
And and this actually is at the nation state level. Some of the actors are, you think you're just dealing with an average person, but the reality is they have connections and they're being used. They've already been created these relationships that are pretty good, and then they were down to the critical moments, and so they throw something out there that really isn't quite accurate. And we had something like that. I mentioned it to you earlier in the day,
Well, yeah,
and I
yeah.
kept,
Let's just mention that so people can maybe feel better about it. Also, thank you to Sherm Vape, Long Island Guy 62. He says he just watched your movie one and the last part of Methods and the Sharp Edge. He can't keep up. There's a lot of good programming out there now that you're not in the mainstream media loop. Also, Lightbulb says, awesome guest. Yeah, so there was this report out today that President Trump had escaped another assassination attempt. So you're saying that that was definitely disinformation?
it appears to be, a little bit of playing back and forth. Let me just say this: uh, the dossier was
Hmm.
concocted, created, promulgated from the city of London.
Yep.
This whole thing down in Italy with the cooking of the vote from Italy through Frankfurt using the Italian Defense Department satellite network. There was British agents that were there in the room while that activity was taking place.
Mhm.
George Soros, he supposedly made his gazillions because he was smart enough to get ahead of the British pound and ride it down, through a massive fall, and he had all these shorts on it and everything else. The reality is that was British intelligence pulling some money off so they could use it for black ops, and he's just a straw man. He's just their creation. Who was the most frequent guest in the first year at the Obama White House? George Soros.
Yes, he
Let me
was.
just add one more little trinket. Bill Clinton. What was his big claim to fame? He's a Rhodes Scholar. Well, what's Cecil Rhodes' thing about bringing America back under British rule, this rogue nation state under the authority of the Commonwealth?
Mm-hmm.
The reality is we're being trolled big time, and it's a little club, and they're trying to rule the world, and they're trying to rule even England itself. These globalists from the financial center, part of the whole thing with Italy. Who provides the protection?
Somebody's obviously not watching the show.
Yeah. So who provides the protection for the Vatican? Well, it's the Swiss Guard. Swiss are all through this. Where are all the reserves around the world? Where's their place where all the banking gets resolved?
Mm-hmm.
Right up there in Switzerland. So, we have Basel, Switzerland. So we have this connection between these various groups. Even the stuff that's going on here in this cooked vote with the Dominion machines, which, by the way, is a British Commonwealth term. Dominion states, Canada is one of the Dominion countries. The aspect of NATO's involvement, NATO nations' involvement in this action against the president. Why? Because they're not happy. They're trying to troll us that Russia did all this stuff to get involved. Well, they have a thing against Russia. It's all this European thing. We have a active nation state level attack on the sovereignty of America, trying to get us to do somebody else's dirty work. Well, we have to be smarter and more adult than that.
NATO wouldn't exist without that tension between the West and Russia. And not to mention, President Trump single-handedly forced the NATO nations to start paying their portion of the bills, right?
Right. So come on. People need to wake up, take a deep breath. I don't care what you think of President Trump. If you're not on that, by the way, you're a Democrat and he's a Republican. Are you kidding me? The Republicans hate him too. Yeah. That's why we're looking at, a Patriot Party or something. You got this Romney Republican crowd, this Rockefeller Republican crowd. They're against President Trump also. Mm-hmm. They were against him from the outset. So to say that Trump's a Republican and you're a Democrat, no, he's an American. He's trying to protect your interests. Quit being so easily, played. Reagan was a Democrat to begin with. He says, I didn't leave the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me. Mm-hmm. And I hope that we have some of your people that are listening there and thinking about that. Both sides, the Republicans, mm-hmm. We have people out there all through the Republican Party that are conspiring moment to moment to take out President Trump because he's not sending the military places. He's not fixing the nation state level stuff with the next war. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't let us get into Syria and a war over there. Wouldn't play the game to go bomb Iran, bomb Iran. Because they shot down a $30 million drone. He played Bolton and the crew famously. These people that are anti-Trump in the military and in the industrial and business world, they're against him because he's not going full tilt globalist like they are. Put your big point pants on, get in the fight. We're trying to save our country and not do somebody else's bidding and paint ourselves into a corner so that we're corralled like cattle so they can shear us and slaughter us.
So tell us about the book, Juan. Why did you write the book, and how did you come by the name? I know how you did, but I want you to tell me.
Those are actually 4 presentations I did in various podcasts, various places, and they were reduced to writing. And then the editor that did that, his wife wouldn't let us put his name on the book because she's afraid that something might happen to him. And so I understood that, actually. But my editor did a great job of helping me. When you do presentations and the way I do, getting them into a written form can be a little bit difficult. So we spent quite a bit of time over about a 3-week period exchanging information, and then a couple of hard days of just going through line by line to make sure that it read smoothly. And but essentially all those presentations are exactly what was in the radio interviews. There wasn't much real changing there. And a great graphic artist who did the work on the cover and other things. Part of the thing is that we've all grown up in the shadow of these events. If you listen to what President Trump has said and what's been put out there a number of times, when President Trump is here in town, he has his staff in and they'll pray a prayer for President Kennedy, the Kennedy prayer. It's right there on the wall beside his desk, and to reverse the coup, reverse the evils that were brought on our country at that time. The country had been under attack for a very long time. That was the coup de grace, if you will, the culmination, the sealing of the fate of America, because they captured the leadership role. Very, very dramatic moment for America. And we've been in the grip of this snake, this anaconda, ever since. These globalists, and it's getting worse and worse with technocracy, with the technological changes and improvements in tracking and screening and tagging and marking. Every last thing that's done, as a people, as a race, as an individual. The reality is that if we don't get this back under control, those that want to run the machines, the machine itself, this Skynet, will capture us, and we won't ever get loose. This is our one last best hope to recapture control of the machine, the helm, and protect ourselves from these monsters that want to use us like food, that really do view us as food, as just human robots to do their will. So I'm very concerned that people get their head out of their ass, wake up and smell the coffee, get some oxygen in their brain, realize what's really going on here. Those people that portray themselves as being our friends, that's a great act in most cases. And you want to, say that the president just did this, for money? Really? He did this for greater fame? Really? He's somehow promoting his business interests. He's going to, somehow do better than he did. The White House is a dump. It's very tacky. It's aging. His hotels, I can tell you right now, I'd rather be at any of his hotels than over at the White House. He didn't, up the game. He's here doing what he's doing because he was asked to. That group that asked him to come in and do this, they've got it all on the line. The president's got it all on the line. If we don't survive this moment, if we don't recapture the helm of the ship in this moment, really, he's toast. His family's toast. Their fate is sealed. These people will never, ever stop. So acting as though the president somehow is just going to play halfway at this, he's a fantastic showman. He's unbelievably good. Oh my gosh, I'm so weak. Joe Namath was famous. He'd act like, oh, my leg hurts. I pulled my side, my back hurts, and some of that was real, but a lot of it, he was a good showman. And then he'd pull a pass out from nowhere. The other side, the guys would say, running backs say, I just knew he couldn't pass very far, so I wasn't going to run that hard. He'd play half a game just to get one good pass in. He'd tell the guy, this is the one, make it count. He'd fling that sucker way down the field and hit the guy. He'd pull something out of nowhere. President Trump is playing an Amos. Come on, man. He's not this dumb. He didn't get us this far, and he's not going to make it. Everybody take a deep breath. Mm-hmm. Oxygenate. Listen, this isn't as dire as it may sound. Mm-hmm. You know what the 19th of January is?
National Popcorn Day.
Preach it, bro.
Enjoy
the show.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, I've been, right when I first started making videos. So that was, late 2018. And then January 2019, I remember when I discovered that and I made a video about it and, realizing that, hey, this is the day before Inauguration Day. So, I feel like I and a lot of people have kind of been waiting for this day to come. And, everybody is kind of tired of, looking at certain dates and, waiting for things to come to pass. But clearly, if there was ever going to be a day that something was going to happen, I mean, it's definitely going to be in the 19th. So, that's why I was so excited that potentially President Trump was going to come out and speak tonight. I mean, did you hear anything today in Washington about maybe the content of what the president might be saying, or just the fact that he was planning to potentially come on? Because someone in the chat said that Newsmax is now reporting, even though they reported just minutes before we began, that the president was probably going to speak. Apparently, they're reporting that now he's not going to speak. But I don't know. Maybe this is more subterfuge.
Like I just said a second ago, the information, misinformation, disinformation is off the charts to all sides, all parties. So, I had meetings today and yesterday and the day before, and all of those people had been in stuff related directly to activities in the White House. And I can tell you that some of the information in each of them was so different that it conflicted. And I'm like, well, wait a second. You were there, heard this, you were there, heard this, you were there, heard this. They weren't quite meshing. Again, as you've seen, the president is really swimming in a sea of snakes. It's hard to tell who he could really trust at this point in time. So they're not even giving straight signals in those inner circles because they know it's going to get out in ways that might not help them. So I believe there's a lot of subtle disinformation, in part to see where it's coming from, which people are saying what, and also because they're not going to telegraph their next moves precisely, not with precision, because they've upped their game. They're in the last moments, all's at stake. 19 to the occult, to this crowd, this religion that's running these cities. I mean, anybody that doesn't think that we're dealing with the religion, look at that obelisk in the picture here. That has religious significance to the cult around which this city was built. The same thing in the city of Rome at the Vatican. Same thing at City of London. You have certain symbolic symbols. That's not because it's just to a culture, a history somewhere, some ancient society that we all want to mimic. They have religious meaning. It's a cult. It's a religion. And so we have a lot of people that are sold out completely, secret handshake crowds with hidden alliances, hidden bloodlines, and they've gotten in very close to the president. It's impossible almost to make the trains run on time unless you have some of these people with the right degrees, the right histories, the right family lines, and they get in there and they're close to the president. What's he get to choose from? They're all cooked. They're all part of it, or a very significant percentage. So this is the moment where we have to, he gets the chance. He's like Job in the Bible, and he's under all these trials and testings. Who are the real friends and who are the fair weather friends? He's finding out, and we're finding out. We're finding out as a country who all those people were. It's for our benefit, not just the president's benefit in these next moves. And then the one thing I wanted to say is the power number in that cult is 19. It's actually based on the other physics. So today, the 9th could arguably be a 1-9. If you go out, 10 days, day before the inauguration, that's a 19th. It's actually a 119. Why would that even be more significant? Because it's also a reverse 9/11. They're very much into their mirroring, their reversals.
True. It's very
So
true.
if you're going to troll the other guys, if you're going to steal their mojo, and since they go on numerology, symbology, and astrology for how they run all of their little schemes and everything else in the different clubs that are all joining hands in this octopus trying to take over the world, if you can use their mojo against them, steal the high ground of their dates, plant the flag and own it, it screws them up. So us trolling them a bit on their ritual days, their power number days, is a lot of fun. I will mention one other thing. If you remember that when Obama had his misstatement during his first inauguration, and they had to redo it just to be safe, what time of the night did they do that re-swearing in? They did it at 7:30 at night in the White House. They did it in the room that faces out. You're looking at Obama in the pictures, but when you know what room he's in and you look at where his eyeballs are at as he's doing it, he's facing the monolith, the Washington Monument, the center of Washington, D.C. Why? Because it's a religious symbol to their religion. It's a great big dildo is what it really is.
Long Island.
I'm actually very serious. That's what it is.
No, I know that's just funny to hear it out loud. Long Island Guy 62. He says, I'm having so much fun giving subs to Patriots using my money pegged for RNC bastards. FUDS. Woohoo. Thank you for all of the subscriptions you're passing out, Long Island Guy 62. Thank you for the Ninja Genie as well. Now, okay, so a couple things you mentioned. Yes, we were just talking about this last night. This is probably the biggest positive thing to me, is that to the last end, all of the deep state traitors have been revealed in the last days and weeks. People that we have been hoping this whole time, that we're going to do the right thing, that maybe we could count on. Obviously, Lindsey Graham and others, Mike Pence, man, I was willing to give Mike Pence the benefit of the doubt, and he sure showed me that he was a deep state swamp rat from the very beginning. I understand his picture has been removed from the inside of the White House in most places, and also his chief of staff and the rest of his staff probably have all been booted out and are no longer allowed to be there. And then also, in regards to Rome, I'm hearing that both Rome and Pakistan are both experiencing blackouts right now. Do you know anything about that?
I've had the same reports. I believe that the Pakistan one is valid. I don't know about the Rome one. And we had some misinformation out there on Italy and situation in Rome. And I've got divided stories. And I mean, that's why I talked to somebody that was in the room and I'm like, what's the truth on this stuff? And he says, well, that's true. That's not. That I don't know. And I'm like, you don't know? If you don't know, he says, yeah, just take a deep breath. I'll get back to you. So some of that too, I don't want people speaking out of school. At the end of the day, we're just a lot of it. We're information junkies. When we want to know every last thing.
Yeah.
But let's just use the president speaking or not speaking tonight. It's 7 o'clock, which is 1900 hours. Then it's 1730, which is 19.5. Obama did his swearing in, by the way, at 7:30 p.m. Why? Because it's 19.5. The power number is 19.47. It has to do with the other physics. Everything NASA does is based on 19 or 19.47 or 19.5. 19.47 reduces down to 19. 19.47 reduces up closest to 19.5. So, for example, just so that people have this in their mind, the launch pads that we went to the moon, really, they were launch pads 39A and 39B. Why not 38 and 39 or 39 and 40? Because 40 and 38 aren't the ritual numbers. 39, 2 times 19.5. It's part of a magic spell. They need to use the numbers for ritual meaning according to their religion. So again, and it has to do with the physics is real. It's actually based on real physics, torsion physics. So then you come back to, and part of the thing too, for our crowd, for our friends that are out there, let me just say this. You may say, well, that's silly, or I don't believe in that, or whatever. It doesn't matter what you believe.
True.
Religion, try to understand somebody else's religion. Well, you're an outsider. They're immersed in it. They're pickled in it. They understand it a certain way. So if they believe it, belief is the driver of action. So their beliefs drive them, motivate them, spur them to do things in a certain way. So they have certain beliefs, and then they act on those beliefs. So just because you don't believe in it doesn't mean shit. It's what they believe, and so they're acting on that. And the reverse could be said. A lot of the people, people believe that Democratic things should be this way, the Republicans things should be that way. Your actions are based on it. Well, they're a religion, and they're doing the same thing, so don't be too surprised. So 19.5 or 19, doing a ritual thing that has to do with control of the whole world, trying to get somebody in power or seal the deal. Remember the healthcare thing. Where was that signed at? What was the time that it matched? It matched a 19.5 in Hawaii, which is related to some of the other power physics, torsion physics, et cetera, with the volcano over there that's constantly spewing. That's based on real physics, and where Obama was supposedly born. So they were sealing the deal based on a location and some leverage over the whole earth. Once you start to understand that, a lot of stuff comes into play. 17 is another big number. So now the COVID coming out of England, what's it marked with? It's 117, because 17 is a power number. What's our COVID that was the first one to come in? COVID-19. Okay, so the 17 is critical. 117 is the ritual number for Prince William. It's a Saros cycle. It's all sorts of things. I've talked about that before. 17, we go to 17. Well, what's the meaning of 17? That monolith over there, it's all about the death and resurrection day of Osiris. His death date was the 17th, the first month of the year. When his mom found out his brother Set had killed him, she ran out, grabbed all the pieces, found 13 of the 14 pieces. The 14th piece was his penis. So she couldn't find it. A fish had eaten it, supposedly, according to this god legend. His mother was Isis. And so she fashioned a penis out of stone, then had sex with her son's corpse, then became pregnant. And that's where Osiris came from. It's a filthy, wicked religion. Baal, Moloch, all that crap. And you've got its religious most important symbol in the whole freaking thing right there in the center of your capital. The whole city is built around it. And you think it's only here. Okay. Anytime you have a witch or spells, magic, what's the maximum magnification of a spell? 3 times. So the witch turns 3 times in the circle. Knock 3 times on the door to be admitted to Parliament in England. It's always 3. Okay, so what's the maximum power of 17? The Osiris spell, 3 times 17. 51. What's the name of this magic base here in America where all the magic is done on the technology? Area 51. Why not 52? Why not just China Lake or something like that? Because they have to emblazon it, brand it with their magic number. It's their religion. That symbol right over there, that's as important to them as the cross is to Christians. That's where their salvation comes from. They're reborn through this symbolic act of the mother having sex with the son and the dildo, the stone dildo. And there's your stone dildo at the center of the city that your countries run around. That's why we're having all these problems. The little secret handshake groups, not just one, it's multiple groups that are working together for their own interests separately to control the globe. And they think that they're going to rebuild the world their way, to favor their families, to favor their business, to favor their God. And it's not the God in heaven.
No, certainly not. Now, Joshua Bain, thank you very much for the Ninjagini. He says, speaking of symbolic structures, do you think that anything will happen with these buildings in the second term? I mean, it's no. At this point, it's pretty well known that all of this stuff, has this secret occult meaning. But do you think there's any possibility that something could be done to tear it down? I mean, they're iconic structures at this point.
The only thing I'd do at the city personally, and I said it in my book, first off, you're not going to fix Washington.
Mm-hmm.
It's already fixed. Okay. The crime syndicates are running the place. Okay. And what are you going to do? You're going to just tear down the one monument, every street, every structure, everything that's there, the angles of the streets, the twists and bends, the snakes, the whole city is one great big religious city. It's more religious than the Vatican. So what are you going to do? Personally, I think the only way, you talk about draining the swamp, before President Trump even announced he was going to run, I said, you don't drain the swamp. What I want to do is I want to freaking divert the Potomac, flood the whole place out, power wash it. Crap, we need a couple of gully washers. Once isn't going to do it. You got to flush once, twice, 3 times. And then you can drain the swamp, and then you can go in and start fixing it up. And then what I do is I just fence the whole area off, make it a spectacle to the world, go somewhere else and start over. You can't fix Washington, D.C. It's already fixed.
Yeah.
It isn't really a symbol of America itself. It's its own nation state city to rule over us. It's not even part of the country, technically, according to the law.
Right.
It bypasses all these things and then rules over us. It's because it's this federalist operation from outside the country and the groups that run it. That's the reality of it.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. So a couple of things today. Dan Scavino and Gab announced that President Trump was officially going to Gab, and after that announcement, Gab crashed because everybody who wasn't on there went and signed up. So big congratulations to Andrew Torba and the team over there at Gab. Everybody knows I love Gab. If you're not on Gab, try to sign up there as soon as you can, because that's where POTUS is going to be. Second, it looks like Amazon is going to take Parler off their servers tomorrow. Parler is now going to go through the exact same thing that Gab went through many years ago. Luckily, they've been working up to this moment for a very long time. They have built up their infrastructure from the ground up. They've already been deplatformed from absolutely every mainstream piece that you need to run a website like that. So they're well prepared. Gab is going to be the home for President Trump, you guys. That's where you need to be. Parler is going to have a very difficult time because they're going to have to find all of these new places to go. But there's also some unsettling things about Parler, Juan. If you've ever read their terms and conditions, they specifically state that if they get sued, then they can go after their users for their legal fees. And I've always thought that was designed in case Section 230 was repealed, because that would be the point at which, they could get sued. And then also, Angry Combat Veteran says, dude with the pinky ring looking like a supervillain, fire dropping red pills about pedovores. Keck. And I have to say, you do look a little bit like Dr. Evil with that awesome pinky ring there, especially.
Well, you'd have to understand that is a Afghan ruby. It has some special meaning to me personally.
I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's I have a history that I'm proud of. I'm thankful for, and that was given to me, and I had it made into the setting and cut to suit. And I don't wear something around my neck and whatever, and I don't feel like wearing something on my other finger, so it's my pinky ring. Somebody wants to read something evil into it, what can I say? Have at it. People want to twist everything. In fact, a lot of good guys had rings like that also. So
sure.
If you want to go back and actually look at the real history, it can go both ways. Evil, that's a good thing too. The devil doesn't do anything that is original. It's always a counterfeit. So if you see something that is evil, there's always going to be something that's good that it's patterned after, that they're trying to twist it to their side of the story. So, say what you will. I'm quite proud that represents a moment in time. I'm very thankful to be able to have it, and I enjoy it. And, whatever. Somebody wants to say something, I don't care. So, you can try to taint anything any way you want. It doesn't bother me.
No, don't worry. I think he was just being funny. I know the person who made the comment, and he definitely doesn't think you're actually evil. But to your point,
well, I would say this: I'm as much having fun as anybody else. So,
good.
I can take a good joke too.
so and you make a great point, because the deep state, the cabal, they've taken a lot. I mean, symbols are intrinsic to humanity. I mean, they go back as long as humankind has existed on the earth. I mean, people have found, allegories for things in real life, and they've created symbols for them. So, they have stolen a lot of these things and they've perverted them. And one of the things that, I think is important for us is recapturing those symbols, because there are certain things that, have deep rooted meaning in history, whether it's, for us here in America, or, you go back to Europe, et cetera, et cetera. And, we need to take those things back. So, it definitely, if somebody's wearing a ruby ring, it doesn't mean that they're, brothers with Soleimani or John Kerry or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then High Kecker says, Juan's making a perfect day brought me perfect tears. It was perfectly powerful. Thank you, Juan.
Hey, and let me just tell you, Jennifer Mack.
Yes, she's great.
Amazing. You have to understand what she put up with to get that done. And then all of her input was, it would not exist as it does. And I think it is very powerful, because she's a very powerful filmmaker. She sees things that most people don't in ways that are hard. I could have brought in other, very skilled people. I have lots of Hollywood people on. It would not have had the texture, the understanding. She was very insightful in transferring in things that I wanted to get into that presentation. And so, my hat's off to her. She's a wonderful human being, has done a spectacular job. And she's a very, very good friend. I appreciate her tremendously. And her efforts were the difference between something mediocre and something incredible.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a great piece that you guys did. I was hoping that maybe you were going to show your face, because as long as I've known you, I still don't know what you look like. But at least you've started showing your cowboy boots and your hands, in the videos you guys do. Now, you guys, I'm just going to ask, please use the stickers judiciously over on DLive. We have over 9,000 people watching on DLive, and we have a 60-second slow mode on. And it looks like people want to go ahead and be able to chat about the things that Juan is saying. So please do me a favor, just use it judiciously, because I don't want to have to turn the stickers off. So, looking at the next couple of weeks, I mean, you've already said that, people need to take a step back. We got to take a deep breath. What is the most important thing that you think we can do in order to support the president and keep moving things forward?
It's actually, I think, pretty simple. And I've had, a number of people in very senior positions in industry, military, the churches, that I've had these conversations with over the last many weeks. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, it's actually a very simple question. Was the vote a fair vote, actually representative of those people who voted? I'm just going to tell you that 80% of the people that voted in this last election voted for President Trump. Mm-hmm. You can say it any way you want. You can go any state you want. In fact, the material that we have out of Italy, as well as the material out of Frankfurt, as well as the material run in forensic analysis of the vote here, separate from the actual hard data, all match. And it tells us that 80% of those that voted for President Trump. The contested states are not contested. California itself voted for President Trump. It's a red state. So with all of the questions about the vote, the very simple, and everybody saw the rallies, you get thousands and thousands of people in every forum, every format where the president's at for a rally, every state. you turn around and you look at Biden, and with all the promotion, all the hucksterism, etc., a couple guys show up in Jeeps from the dealership down the street. They're not genuine. They're made up. They're concocted. They're trying to create an illusion propagandistically of, Americana, with their Jeeps from the Jeep dealer. Give me a freaking break, okay? I've got a Jeep. And I guarantee you, those people that I ran into, one of the guys, he couldn't even figure out how to put it in freaking gear. I'm not even kidding. He'd never driven a manual transmission. Like he supposedly is driving this Jeep. And I'm like, dude, so this is your Jeep? Oh yeah, I've had it for 2 years. Really? Well, it's a 2019 model. How'd you get it 2 years ago? I bought it when they first came out, in June. And then he can't get it in gear. So come on, man, don't give me that crap. And it's back at the dealer's lot end of the day when he takes it back and returns it. Give me a break. It's like all the Trump movement people inside the Capitol protesting to take their country back. Yeah. Oh yeah, but they were at BLM 3 months ago.
Right. It's amazing how swiftly the narrative changed, For the first 9 months of the year, it was like, yes, this is great. We need this. We need people expressing their opinion and, telling us what's on their minds. And then as soon as Trump supporters do it, they were practically salivating. Obviously, this is what they wanted. They wanted to be able to spin this narrative that we were the violent insurrectionists. There was the rumors that President Trump was going to invoke the Insurrection Act. So, what a better way for them to spin it than to say, well, it's actually the Trump supporters. They are the ones who are going to overthrow the government. Please give me a break. We are the most patriotic, law and order loving people on the face of the earth. And we simply want our representation. We want our vote to count. We want to know that we're not going to show up at the ballot box and have our votes shipped off to Frankfurt or Italy or France or, UK, wherever it is, and have
Pakistan.
It flipped, have it flipped from our chosen candidate to Joseph Robinette Biden. Nobody actually voted for Joe Biden. And Atticus Rage wants to know, what is Juan's perfect day? That is actually makings of a perfect day. I've dropped the link to the film a couple of times in the chat. Let me go ahead and send it out again. I just sent it out on DLive and on Twitch. And then also Liz G says, my mother and daughter are believing the lying mainstream media. Yeah, this is something I've seen a lot of, Juan, since Wednesday. Many people came home to find that they've been shunned by their children, by their brothers and sisters, by their parents. They've lost their job simply because they posted images on social media showing them at the Capitol. Not even people who actually entered the Capitol building, but people who just simply were there to support the president. I've seen reports of children calling the FBI on their parents to let them know that they were in Washington, D.C., because they have been labeled as violent insurrectionists by the fake stream media. It's a terrible thing.
Okay. Here's an important point for every one of your listeners. When you watch the film, The Calling, and you see what we put together there, the last minutes of the film are a walk all the way from Trump Hotel all the way to the Capitol, as people were returning from the Capitol after the breaching of the Capitol offices, and everybody was being sent out of the area. So you observe this walk that's about 14 blocks long, all the way along Pennsylvania Avenue, all the way to the Capitol steps. You don't see a single person that's doing any kind of rioting, pillaging, breaking, stomping. You saw reporters interviewing people. You see people. The one gal is actually saying the Lord's Prayer using a large speaker, large speaker that she's actually drug out there. Yep. And Mike, a very prayerful, solemn crowd that was a very not breaking or pillaging anything. The only breaking and pillaging that was done was these BLM people, and then a group that had infiltrated them and actually went in a special forces group and got the computers out of Pelosi's offices. There were 7 of them.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've been wanting you to specifically talk about this. So, again, this is something else I've heard conflicting reports on, but certainly we know that Pelosi's laptop was retrieved from the Capitol. But can you tell us who the other people whose laptops were taken? Are they other elected officials? Are they aides to elected officials? What can you tell us? Aides. Okay.
Aid. Yeah. And again, that operation is, in fact, a military operation. It's not a police operation.
Okay.
And that should indicate something to a lot of people. What groups are being used in the course of getting to the roots of what's going on here? The policing actions, although FBI went out and arrested people related to these breaching of the Capitol building, and took a number of them into custody over the last couple of days. About 75, I believe, on the list to be picked up, and I'm sure they're well into that list now.
Yeah.
I think it was 35 as of yesterday that had been picked up. So with that in mind, we have a military operation taking place simultaneously. And of course, the military, because these are seditious if they're Americans, but a number of them are part of this Ukraine group that was brought over from Ukraine that were part of the Orange Revolution over in Ukraine. That was a CIA-backed operation.
You're right.
And we have a Black Op division in CIA that's been going against Trump. That's part of this whole longer narrative. The servers there in Frankfurt, that was at a CIA controlled location.
Right.
And so,
well, that's where the
way,
that's where the WikiLeaks Vault 7 stuff was basically stolen from, apparently.
Yes,
and we've talked specifically also here about Trump's invocation of National Security Action Memorandum 57, 55, 56, and 57, but 57 being the most important because that takes away from the CIA the ability to run those clandestine operations using special forces, putting them directly under the control of Christopher Miller. So when you're talking about the people who entered the Capitol building, would those have been special forces or would that have been some other specific branch of the military?
I don't know if it's in the public domain actually, so I don't think I want to say. I do know, in a generic sense, they are military special forces. I don't want to say which branch in case that's not out there, but
that's fine. That's fine.
Let me say something there too. After World War II, when the CIA was created, at the same time, the Air Force was created. Why was that done? It was done because it allowed that this covert intelligence group that was trying to take new technology, including nuclear weapons and aircraft, which had become more evolved and were going to become more evolved, as well as missile technology. Even though the Navy was in the loop on its own side, it allowed you to go in and sheep dip exactly who you wanted in order to create this new service division. And they were people that were primarily loyal to that club right there. And so what happened is that when you look at CIA officers' personnel, the ones that were in the most sensitive clandestine areas, usually as you got into the 50s and 60s, came out of the Air Force. And the other services where they were brought in, they ended up being somewhat figureheads, but they weren't into the more clandestine stuff because they weren't part of the club. They were just cover. They were, nice draperies in concealing who was behind the curtain. In creating a new service, you can pick and choose. Well, if you're going to reverse things or you're going to do whatever, you always want the high ground in a battle situation. And so getting the high ground, if you're going to take out some of these players and groups that have gotten control of the country, the high ground at this point in time is not in the air, it's above the air.
So would that have anything to do with why they have now, officially announced Space Force over the last couple of years and now adding it into the intelligence community, making it the 18th branch of the intelligence community?
Well, and again, what do you do if you make it the 18th? You break the symbology of the 17. Again, that little crowd right there. So there's a lot of layers to what's going on here,
Yeah.
and pulling the teeth of the monsters, and cleaning out the swamp. If you're going to get control of your country back, sometimes it's not about reinventing what's already there. Some of them have to just be kicked to the curb of history, and you start over with something completely new, and you can pick and choose, so you're not getting more controlled, cooked players. Again, the religious city at the center of power in our country is part of a group of religious cities in power over our planet, and a club that runs them. Are you going to be able to fix Washington? No, it's already fixed.
So where do we go from here? What happens in the second term? If if we get what we're hoping for, we're talking about a major power vacuum in Washington, D.C. I mean, clearly there are many, many people who were involved in this. It's almost as if there are, the number of elected officials that you could trust in Washington, D.C., you could count on a single hand, and then not to mention, you're talking about whole branches of the intelligence community. And then you take a look at the administrative portion of the government. And hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, who is going to run the government when these people answer for the crimes they've committed?
Well, let me just add to that. If you're not running yourself ragged all over the whole earth, trying to run the whole planet, and you're just trying to get your own house in order, maybe you don't need a lot of this crap. And maybe you can wind things down a tremendous amount. And if you're not making enemies of everybody on the planet because you're trying to run them on behalf of controllers, you're not being puppeted by other people, maybe you don't need as much as you got, and you don't have to do everything. The way that it's set up right now, there's no function you can do in your life. You can't take a freaking crap, and they're telling you how much water you're going to use to flush it down the toilet because you don't have enough. Look, at the end of the day, what's got to happen in the second term, and it's actually part of something else that I'm doing, and I brought power players in from all across the country to work through some of the details of it out there in Nevada. You have to start with energy. Energy makes the world go round. First thing President Trump did when he came into office, in those first days, he started pulling the restrictions on energy production here in the country related to oil and gas. Under the Obama administration, you nearly wiped out oil and gas production here in the country. I have a very good friend that just passed away here a couple months back. Beautiful guy. And he had wildcatted, done his own drilling, brought in a couple hundred wells himself that he owned himself in Oklahoma, and had done stuff in various parts of the planet. His brother's one of the top oil people in the world, geologists, and they were a 1-2 team on a lot of cool stuff. He had a fantastic retirement that he had built up for himself over a 45-year career, and he was a B-52 guy. A trainer in B-52s, tremendous guy, late 50s, early 60s. And what happened? They changed the rules, and out of about 110 wells that he personally owned, he was down to 2 producing wells in 3 years. So and think about an oil well. One thing you have to remember, when you shut off the flowing of oil well, if you by whatever regulation you do it, oil wells are based on capillary action, gas wells too. So there has to be a continuous flow. Once you start a flow in a wellhead, you have to maintain that. So if you aren't maintaining that, you can actually damage the well, and it won't work right anymore. So you have to continually pump it. So when we had these crises here a few months back at the beginning of the COVID thing, and suddenly we had reduced oil demand, and before we decided to start refilling the strategic reserve, and then you had the Saudis wanting to send 18, I think it was, tankers of oil over here, and it was going to collapse the value, the price of oil. Long and short of it is that all of the oil didn't have anywhere to go. We couldn't put it in a tank anywhere. All the tanks got full. Well, you can't just turn off oil flow at the well, like turning off the spigot for the water in your house. If you do that, you destroy the well. So these guys that didn't have a place to put it were running into huge problems. And that was a danger to our oil production as a country when we came out of this COVID thing, supposedly, or whatever. So having the government buying it up and pumping it back in the ground in the strategic reserve was critical. We're going to need energy, and the price of that energy is going to be critically important moving forward as we climb out of this COVID hole on the far side of this, and this political hole. Trump got oil flowing, got the price down early in his administration, and then made us an oil producer that was exporting oil as opposed to an importer of oil. He got us in a flow where we were making our own oil to the point we weren't dependent on the Mideast. We didn't have to have an army over there protecting the flow of Mideast oil to the world. We were making more oil. We got so much resources here. We got so much oil here. It's insane that we're not just producing our own for ourselves and for our friends. So there's that side of energy, but there's other sides of energy, including energy using other ways of accessing it that are critical. Because if you have cheap energy, you have the ability to produce less expensively. You can make things which makes your jobs more valuable, makes you a production area. We've been deindustrialized with this little plan by these globalists to wipe us out. So the fix for America and the danger to these globalists who want to export our jobs, our technology, our factories, our military, all overseas to do their bidding, is that we then can't feed ourselves. We don't have access to the tools. We don't have the right, the license to produce in our own mines. You know, everybody talks about we got to get all of our rare earths from China, and we're in dire shape. We got plenty of rare earth right here. We got regulations that are fucking us up, and it's tied to other things related to energy. Cut the bullshit. China can't make rare earth stuff cleaner than we can. Somebody has sold you a lie. Let's do the mining right here at home, just like we're doing the energy at home. Do the jobs here at home. Stop sending the money overseas. Get our own factories for the computers, the technology, the resources that we need to keep ourselves safe, and then help our friends out that want to be nice with us and work with us, and not help those people out that are fair weather friends or who are really looking for the next opportunity to knife us in the back and steal our wallet. Yeah. That's the whole point. It starts with energy, goes into mining, the raw materials of production, get our factories back, our technology back. We're not dumb. We're actually a very smart people, but we're acting like idiots, letting a bunch of dumb idiots buy into this globalist shit like we're the problem. We're not the problem. There's the fucking problem.
Absolutely, 100%. Real briefly, Destiny Match says, big changes here now. Thank you very much for that, Ninjagini. Patriot Bride says, please clarify, good guys or bad guys got Pelosi's computer? And this is the good guys that got Pelosi's computer, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good guys got it.
Yeah. And then Lure Ed says, thanks, Juan and RP. Thank you all for those Ninjaginis. We're going to go ahead and open the phones now, Juan. We've got 12 people waiting on the line. Our first caller is J.R. Majewski, and after that, we'll be taking Vicky. Everybody, please do me a favor. Make sure that you have your stream muted in the background.
Yep.
J.R., you're live. You're live, J.R., and you're muted. Okay.
I'm sitting here laughing, looking through some Air Force stuff that I got here, and I'm like, oh, man, these dudes are awesome.
Okay.
So what a boss move, man, being in D.C. It looks like you're at Trump Hotel. That's man.
Absolutely. Well, listen, JR, meet Juan, meet JR. You both are good friends of mine, and I knew that JR was going to enjoy this show tonight. So what's up, JR? What has percolated to the surface of your mind after watching us for the last hour?
Couple things. So I'm an Air Force vet. One, I'm also a nuclear industry veteran, I guess you could say. I've been in the nuke industry for like 20 years now. So a lot of things are going through my head.
You're going to love what's coming. I can't tell you what's coming, but you're going to love it. And I'm glad to have you there. We should probably stay in communication, and maybe you can add you to my team.
I'd love that, man. I would. Since I've gotten involved in everything in the movement, I guess you could say I'm the guy that painted my yard, the Trump sign, and then Zach, found me and interviewed me, and I've been kind of we've been helping each other out the whole way since then. So
I think Space Force is using that for like a geo marker for all of their operations. And so, they can find where you're at, and then they just kind of, oh, well, he's there. Okay, right. We'll key off of that for everything else we're doing.
Yeah, I know.
How cool would that be?
A couple flyovers. So, hey, but I'd like to pick your brain a little bit on a couple things. One, I get the impression with all of these, Trump's going to go live tonight. That feels to me like maybe a test of how we can communicate on the back channels without these social media platforms. I've even had my parents who are in their 50s and 60s reach out to me and say, is Trump going live tonight at 9:00? Because they're getting text messages from their friends. It just is wild to me, the outreach, I would say the network of Trump supporters, even though it doesn't feel like those emails or text messages were real, it just felt like it would maybe a test of our ability to communicate with one another.
Well, let me just say, especially given the fact that Trump's his team has been kicked off of their email server. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but for the last 2 or 3 days, I haven't gotten a single email from Team Trump or from the campaign. They were booted off in the same way that he was booted off from all of the social media platforms. But go ahead, Juan.
Well, the one thing I would say is this. Yesterday, as I understand it, from one of my people, and I haven't personally gone and looked at it, but by understanding, and I think it's probably true, that the FCC sent out a notice to all of the broadcasters and reminded them of their responsibilities related to any emergency broadcast stuff that's out there. Yep. So with that in mind, why would you send that out? Is it a regularly timed thing? Was it something special? Well, part of the thing is if you have all these networks that are part of the emergency broadcasting system, and you have a bunch of CEOs, presidents, people at various levels that are clearly anti-Trump, and including employees who think it somehow is their right, responsibility, privilege to decide what they want the president to get to tell the nation or not. They're controlling and there's sins of commission and sins of omission. So by omission, they're controlling the propaganda, their direction. Okay, so if the president wants to come on live and talk to the country, are they going to cover it or not? If he can't get his message out because he has to go to Newsmax to do it because everybody else is going to do whatever, bullshit they're going to do, then if he can't get the message out, he can't get access. There's anybody going to mess with the system, which they've clearly shown they have that ability to do or intent. What's he going to do? Emergency broadcast? Excuse me. And if he does an emergency broadcast, if they don't carry it, do the people find out about it quickly, efficiently, effectively? If you can't tweet a message, hey, the president's coming on in a few minutes to all your buddies and friends, is that a national security risk? Is what the president has to say something that all citizens should be able to be made aware of? If your election that 80% of the people clearly know, don't believe your lying eyes. The Trump rally was not that full. And I'm supposed to believe the photoshopped green screen eyes that Hillary's actually talking to a crowd of people in a room and the people have green around all their bodies and she does too. All this other bullshit that's out there. Hillary's talking to her supporters after she has a brain fart and can't function and they got to carry her into the van. Oh yeah. And then she's out hugging the little children and no Secret Service protection and everything else. Bullshit. You're being propagandized. Come on. So if the president can't get his message out and he has to go to an emergency broadcast And then some broadcaster decides, well, I'm not going to do that because the president is just trying to get his political view aside, and he's going to be out of office in a few days, and Biden will take care of me, and I'm just not going to do it. Well, you have certain responsibilities as an FCC carrier. You're just then creating a legal basis for military to come in, take over your operation, and control your facility during this emergency period. And by the way, we still are in a state of national emergency related to COVID, going all the way back to last March. Wake up! Hello.
I was also, 2 days before the March to Save America, we were doing a lot of preparation. Zach and I put together a plan. We took over 150 people to DC. We did a big fundraiser, and I actually got an email from someone that it was kind of like one of those secret squirrel emails. They said, if we can dip into Antifa's comm system, and here's how. And it was this long email, and this individual actually sent it to 2 emails that I had, that are available online. And it was like, essentially it was a troll by the Trump campaign. And I confirmed that, because you had to text text 88022, and you could be made available to, these Antifa secret channels, but really that was the Trump campaign's notification. So it was pretty cool that, I figured it out right away, because I've been part of the campaign team, but just the fact that went so viral on the back channels just made me, it cracked me up, because it shows the activity levels that the Trump team has going on behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Real quick, couple of thank yous. Angry Combat Veteran says, RP just wanted to remind everyone that Corn Pop was a bad dude. Keep up the good work. Kick for life. Also, Dre Deplorable says, yes, JR, everyone in my life comes to me for the news. Thanks to all of you and to all of us. And then Joshua Bain asks, will deregulation get to the point where rare earth, thorium, and nuclear be mainstream by 2021 or relatively soon?
No, it won't be that fast. There's a specific need for something specific. I've been working that problem, and I actually am going to publicize something related to energy. But we have to get through the instant crisis right now. And then there's a very specific group of things that have to happen, but it's just not the time to discuss that. I've actually been on that, working that problem and putting together the teams to address those problems and make that available to the president. But again, that's part of the reindustrialization of America that has to follow getting rid of the monsters and choking off the oxygen supply and the blood supply to the head of the beast here. And so we one problem at a time, but we will quickly transition to getting the country back on track. We had, really 4 years of opportunity that in large measure have been stolen from us as a people. And we've been derailed, sidetracked, really for much, much, much longer than that. But with this president in office, with this whole Russia scam, by the way, that piece of shit Halper over there in Britain, that traitorous, treasonous dual passport Brit operative over there at Cambridge, who came up with all of these things, the scam against Papadopoulos, the scam against the president, the scam against General Flynn, he is on the target list. Okay. And the long and short of it is, we as a people have to first get these traitors, these seditious traitors, under control, identify them, show who they are, get them out of power, and then we can begin to backfill and sort the problems out so we can get back on track, using what is available to us, the people that have been loyal to the American people all the way along. Some people say it's just about a loyalty to the president. It's not. It's a loyalty to the nation, the flag, the common interests of Americans. And there's a lot of people that need to come in out of retirement. We may not have enough good guys, and we need more good guys to come on board. I talked to a vast number of people over the last couple of months and repeatedly asked them, are you ready to get back to work? Are you ready to come out of your forced retirement? And get in there because you actually know what was wrong. You saw how it happened. You know what would be starting places to get things back on track. And over and over again, yes, sir, I'm ready to come serve the American people, to get in there with the president, try and pull this thing together. That's what we're going to need. But as those people come out of the woodwork, we can very quickly get America back on track, get our house in order, and then we can go and help our friends around the world after they've cleaned up their houses to join us. We don't want to be dominating our friends. We don't even like those types of terms, dominion voting machines, dominating countries through a fixed illegal vote. We want to be our brother's brother, not our brother's keeper. And we want to be friends with those people around the world. We don't want them to become American. The American mindset isn't just a country, it's an idea. We want them to get to be their own people with their own dreams and ambitions, and we'll help them. It starts with energy, and then it moves out into the industrialization, and they have stuff, we have stuff. Let's enjoy each other's company and get to the top of the mountain together. That's what it's all about.
All right. Well, listen, JR, I'm going to put you guys in touch by phone after this, but we've got 14 people waiting on the line. And also, Uncensored Abe says, #send me. So my first thought was, JR, we're looking at you because we need good people to do this work. And, perhaps there's more important things for you in this world.
I'm here to serve. You know that, buddy.
That's right, man. Saving the country. That's number one. All right, JR, love you, brother. Thanks for calling in, man.
Love you guys. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you.
Enjoyed talking with you.
Great, you too, sir. Thank you.
Great question.
All right, we'll see you. All right, good stuff. And we've got Vicky coming in next. And Vicky just getting her microphone connected. Thanks again, Abe, for that Ninjagini. Appreciate that, buddy. And we've got, 9.6 thousand people here on DLive, 3,812 on Twitch. That is the most people we've